Well, to speak further on the Supreme Court judgment, legal practitioner Justice Ojienoh joins me on the news. Thank you for your time. Now, Justice, the Supreme Court has affirmed President Bola Tinubu's victory at the 2023 presidential polls. But before today, the PDP candidate Atiku Abubakar had submitted fresh evidence which might have helped his case, but it was dismissed. Is this a fair move in law?
Okay, before now, it would have been sub judice for some of us to have commented on that position of the law. But again, the Supreme Court has now raised it beyond reasonable doubt, because the Supreme Court, Johnny Okoro, JSC, in the lead judgment, made it very, very abundantly clear the parameters that is required before such exceedingly extraordinary step would have been taken at the apex court, because we must always be reminded that the apex court is not the trial court. There's a reason why the judgment of the trial court took 12 hours and this one took about 1/4 of that. It's because the trial court is meant to look through all exhibits and evidence. The apex court ordinarily doesn't. So now that this is being brought to the apex court stated various reasons, chief of which was the fact that Chris Uche, the leader of the legal team of the PDP, had the opportunity, abundant opportunity, to have brought such a challenge at the United States court in order to be able to obtain the judgment to tender as exhibit at the trial court and not at the Supreme Court or the appellate court, the apex court in this scenario. And of course, on that and on various other reasons, the court actually declined that application. And that application, if it had been entertained, because the judge also made sure to say that it had merit. The judge actually said it had merit. The judge now went extra to actually say that because it wasn't brought within the 21 days that the matter ought to have been filed, all the exhibits ought to have been filed, that even because of that too, it would have been struck out.
Now, lastly, what will you say to people who think that that judgment was delivered, not justice?
It's unfortunate. Like a popular writer said, Dave Carnegie, he actually said that where emotions and logic clash, that logic will always have, emotions will always have logic for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. In a manner of speaking, maybe it's the emotions. If we really sit down to analyze the way this judgment went, like I've always said, the challenge is not that of the lawyers. The lawyers to PDP actually did a better job than the lawyers to Peter Obi. If I may be public about it, Peter Obi was my own candidate. But I want to say that our lawyering, even though it was very, very great, is not as great as that of the PDP. It's not as if APC had excellent lawyering. It is just that the decks were stacked very high legally against anybody who is challenging, anybody who is already taking a position of power. For example, anybody who has already been declared president or governor or legislator, as the case may be. So it is the law, the way it is, the Evidence Act particularly, and the Electoral Act also, and the Constitution. We need to amend the provisions that give anybody who has been declared the incumbent an undue advantage. INEC has to be removed as a party in the opposition when suing anybody who is challenging their elections. They should be made a neutral party by law. The presumption of regularity that just says that, okay, once INEC presents a particular number, there's a rebuttable presumption that that number is valid. Those should be removed from the Evidence Act, so that anybody who is challenging with fair legal representation, they will be able to upturn whatever it is, that whatever irregularities have been in place.
Justice Ojienoh, legal practitioner, many thanks for lending your thoughts.